Portland, the open green city where indie music soars in the night breeze and people seek shelters for the homeless, the unemployed, and the warmth of the cold urban environment, June 2, 2025, the sky is dark with twilight. At the Union Gospel Mission Homeless Center in downtown Salem, a place that has witnessed countless stories of pain but also of hope, everything seems peaceful as usual: warm yellow lights, light footsteps, whispers of people looking for a break, and sometimes small laughter at the registration desk. But at 7:15 p.m., everything disappears in a terrifying scream that sounds like the wind of death. A man appears at the reception desk, pulls out an 8-inch knife, and suddenly rushes into the crowd. At first, it is the innocent receptionists, then one by one they are stabbed mercilessly, no one indiscriminately, no one has time to fight back. In just a few short minutes, a place designed to be a shelter turned into a living nightmare, where blood ran in long streaks on the wooden floor, where bodies were screwed under the chairs, where panicked cries echoed like a death call into the night. In less than 10 minutes, the perpetrator left the center. The victims were taken to the emergency room. The police were present, cordoned off the area, set up a fence. But fear, horror, spread like wildfire. According to Salem police, 12 men were injured, including 2 shelter workers in critical condition, and 5 hospitalized in very serious condition. The victims ranged in age from 26 to 57, suggesting the shooter was not selective or targeted. The shooter was identified as Tony Latrell Williams, 42, of Bend, Oregon. The incident was described as sudden, with no signs of pre-existing hostility or specific targets, but rather a sudden outburst of violence. Society was surprised. Charities were shaken. Homeless people, not seeking shelter, were victims of unprovoked rage. Online, people from Portland to Salem were talking, how could a normal man inspire such violence? Weak security mechanisms in shelters, are they making things worse? Should homeless people feel unsafe in their own shelters? It's not just Salem, Portland is shaken. Shelters across the city have immediately tightened security. International reporters are questioning the so-called Western American dream. Is the last refuge really safe? A place that holds the disappointments of life, people who suffer loss and hardship, suddenly turns into a battlefield. Why did the killer choose a shelter? Why did he attack a place that was considered a peaceful temporary residence? Was this guy a vagrant or did he have a clear purpose? Are there any signs that the killer was looking for a personal target, or simply a murderous rampage? The story is both a tragedy for the homeless and a wake-up call for the social system. Shelter is not a place of absolute safety. The line between normalcy and chaos is fragile. In a moment, everything can collapse. Who are they? Not the successful businessmen, not the media-celebrated people, but the lost souls of the city. Many of them are former workers, retired soldiers, cooks, or simply parents who lost their homes during the COVID-19 pandemic. Gary Holloway, 51, a former Amazon delivery driver who lost his job after an accident left him unable to walk. He comes to the Union Gospel Shelter every night to receive hot meals and listen to Bible teachings. Marcus Dean, 28, just out of rehab, in the process of reintegration, only 3 weeks away from moving into social housing. He was stabbed twice in the stomach when trying to shield an elderly man who was being attacked. Jacob Rivers, 39, suffered from psychological trauma after leaving the army. A quiet, reserved person. He was stabbed in the shoulder when trying to run to the door to call for help. No one would think that people who have experienced war, poverty, violence, would have to face life and death right in the place that should be the safest for them. According to Oregon police and media records, Tony Latrell Williams, 42, was a transient Bend resident. He had no permanent home or job, and had a criminal record for assault, illegal possession of a weapon, and public safety. Tony was a chef at a Eugene restaurant, described by co-workers as quiet and meticulous but prone to unusual outbursts when provoked. In 2019, he lost his job for smashing kitchen equipment when a customer complained. Since then, his life has been on the decline. No one knows where he lives or what he does. Most recently, someone reported seeing him sleeping outside Laurelhurst Park, haggard, disheveled, eyes seemingly lifeless. No one expected that the quiet man to become the focus of a stabbing that shook Oregon. Police described the scene of the attack as a bloody and chaotic nightmare. Tony entered the shelter without registering. The staff thought he was new. At about 7:12 p.m., he opened his backpack, pulled out an 8-inch knife, the kind used to cut meat in restaurants, and said nothing. The first stab was at the receptionist, who collapsed before he could call for help. After that, Tony attacked anyone nearby, people eating dinner, lying down, reading. No warning. No threats. His actions were mechanical but decisive, as if he had planned it all out in advance, or as if he were taking revenge for something invisible. On June 3, 2025, just hours after the attack, Tony Latrell Williams was officially placed on the National Wanted list. The media splashed his face and identifying features on the front pages: black male, 42 years old, 180 centimeters tall, walking with a slight limp, a skull tattoo on his left arm. But there was one thing that puzzled the police: Tony left no specific traces after the attack. Security cameras recorded him leaving the shelter through the back door, running through a parking lot, and disappearing into a nearby residential area. No bank cards, no phone location, no close friends to ask. A homeless man, no home, no social media, virtually invisible in the modern world. On June 4, the U.S. Marshals deployed the Special Operations Group, SOG, in conjunction with the FBI and the Portland Police Department. One of the first clues came from a shoe in the woods near Forest Park, where many homeless people live. Patrols discovered a blood-covered shoe, branded Vans, size 11. Strangely, the blood on the shoe did not match any of the victims in the attack. DNA analysis quickly confirmed it was Tony's blood. The question was, backhand index pointing right. Why was he bleeding? Backhand index pointing right. Who injured him? Or did he do it himself to distract attention? A shocking detail was revealed on June 5. Tony had a history of severe mental illness. According to St. Charles, 2021, Tony was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, accompanied by hallucinations and sudden violent behavior. His treating physician noted, he frequently stated that he was being followed, believed that someone wanted to kill him, and that he was on a God-given mission. Tony was ordered to be hospitalized, but left the hospital after 3 weeks and has not been seen since. Red Square: was the attack the result of a hallucination, or a godly mission in the mind of an out-of-control person? On June 6, around 10 a.m., an emergency call from a resident near Slaptown opened the door to a manhunt. I saw a man like the one on the news. He was sneaking into an old warehouse near Northwest 18th Street. The police surrounded the area. The SOG team moved in after nearly 4 hours of negotiations. Tony refused to surrender, screaming into the darkness, "You don't understand. I have to do this. They're not human." When the assault force stormed in, they found Tony lying on the ground, bleeding from a stab wound in his abdomen, apparently self-inflicted. Beside him was a tattered notebook, in which were scrawled the following: "Traitors in poor clothes. God tests faith with blood. They will die. I am a tool." Tony was taken to the hospital under special supervision. Although he was not dead, his spirit was, in the words of the doctor, beyond normal control. The truth was slowly coming out. But the public began to ask a painful question: was society partly to blame for this tragedy? Tony had asked for psychiatric help but was denied because he lacked insurance. The shelter had no system for screening new entrants. The city of Portland lacked funding for its street mental health program. Who created the monster? A sick person who didn't get timely treatment? A city that abandoned its vulnerable? Or was it simply fate? June 9, 2025. Room 204 at Oregon Health Science University Hospital was silent. The only sound was the heart monitor and the slow breathing of a woman named Clarissa Holmes, 51, one of the survivors of the stabbing at the shelter. She was stabbed 3 times, in the shoulder, in the back, and once, almost hitting her heart. The surgery was successful. She lived. But her soul was not. I heard him say before he stabbed me, "I will free you from your sins." I thought it was the last day, Clarissa recalled in a shaky interview, looking away from the camera. Those who survived only exist as shadows of themselves. They carry not only scars of the skin, but scars of memories. Some no longer dare to sleep in closed houses. Some suffer from PTSD, panicking whenever a stranger enters the room. Not everyone survives. Some die right in my arms. But some die inside, Clarissa said, her voice breaking. When the police searched Tony's hiding place, they found something that silenced the entire investigation team: a black notebook, bloodstained on the cover, with more than 50 pages of scribbled words inside. It was no ordinary diary. It was the prophecy of a person in a hallucination. They sold their souls to the machine. I saw it. Their eyes have codes. Blood must be shed for the darkness to end. I am the sword. I do not ask for forgiveness. I execute. There were pages that recorded a map of the shelter, down to every door, every mealtime. He had prepared. Quietly. Persistently, and no one knew, no one noticed, no one helped him escape the abyss before blood was shed. On June 10, a temporary trial was opened under the supervision of the Oregon State Court. Tony Latrell Williams was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, 9 counts of aggravated assault, 1 count of using a dangerous weapon. However, when psychiatric experts were called in to evaluate, another shock came: Tony was not competent to be held criminally responsible. He lives in a completely distorted reality. He cannot distinguish right from wrong. He is not aware of the consequences. The court's chief psychiatrist reported, instead of prison, Tony was transferred to Salem Maximum Security Psychiatric Hospital, a place to hold extremely dangerous subjects but not to be tried criminally. Portlanders are angry. An online petition with more than 50,000 signatures calls for the city to be held accountable. The community asks, the answer? None. Or yes, but not enough courage to say it. A city official said in a brief interview, "We are sorry for what happened. But our budget and regulations are limited. We will review the process." A cold apology, like a manifesto, a tragedy paid for in blood, ended in silence. Clarissa Holmes still lives in a shelter, but it's a private, locked room. Derek, a 26-year-old who was stabbed through the shoulder, now doesn't dare go out after dark. Linda, 62, who lost a leg to gangrene, now lives in a wheelchair and never dares to be with strangers. He killed us without killing us. We're still breathing, but we're not alive, Clarissa said, bowing her head. When 12 people fell from a knife in a shelter, the safest place for the helpless, we were forced to face a big question: When did we abandon them? Not on the day of the massacre. Not when the blood stained the dining room. But long before, when they gradually disappeared from our sight, from the statistics, from the dinner table conversations of normal families. Tony Latrell Williams was not just an attacker. He was the result of a series of silent failures, of mental health cuts, of stigma, of the way we treat the homeless as shadows on the sidewalk. Justice is not in the sentence. It is in whether we dare to look at the damage and change before it happens again. Survivors say, "I'm still breathing, but I'm not me." And perhaps, Portland too. A part of the city's soul died on the night of June 2nd.